Hello, we are here for one more lesson of this T-Flex CAD training course. And the topic for today will be the 3D assemblies creation. We'll try to describe in a very easy and not too complex way the basics of the creation of assemblies inside T-Flex CAD. An assembly is a file in T-Flex in this 3D environment, and this assembly incorporates geometry of 3D models stored in different ways. There are two main concepts to work with assemblies. The first one is the top-down, and the second called the bottom-up. Each one of them have advantages and disadvantages. I will show you a very simple example how to work with both of them. And in the end of this course, if you already seen some videos, you may already seen that we have a lot of different examples that we call exercises, either in the 2D environment and also on the 3D environment. We will do exactly the same for the assemblies. So all these details, how to handle the assemblies in very different perspectives, in terms of the variables, in terms of many of the details. If you check all those videos in the end, you'll see a lot of different ideas to work with the assemblies. Besides, you have the theoretical course where all the details, because there are a lot of details about this topic regarding variables, regarding the updates and the links between parts and assembly files. There are a lot of things, so you can see in much greater detail all those topics inside the theoretical side. Here we are going to see a couple of basic stuff. And the first thing I'd like to show, I will create a couple of parts. So we will do simple parts. And the first one, I will make a cube. So simply this. I will save it. So call it cube. I will start a new one. And this time I will make a cylinder, and again I will save it, the cylinder, and we'll start a third file that I will use as assembly. So to create the assembly, and I will use first the method which I think it is more convenient in the majority of occasions. It is the bottom-up concept, which when is to be used by the insertion of parts that you have already in files, and you work in those parts in separated files. So you will insert those files in your assembly context. So I can come to this 3D fragment. So the files will be inserted as fragments. I simply choose the file, so cube, and I can give source and target local coordinate systems. Okay, I can select a source. If I don't want it in that place, I can do it in any other place. Okay, and when I'm happy with this, for sure, besides the transformations I can insert in the model, or rotations, whatever, simply make this. Then I will call the other one, the cylinder, and exactly the same. Now, because I have already one part here, I can say target. I can create a target, a source, sorry, and I can create a target also. It's the same purpose. I can introduce these transformations wherever I want, so it's quite easy to deal with. And I will save this as assembly, and nothing easier than simply call the parts. The idea of the assembly, as you may understand, is in the end, besides the advantage of having all the parts in one simple model and you can simulate the model, you can check for intersections and so on in this assembly context. Now, if I go to, for example, the cylinder, if I make a change, because we have a relation between the part files and the assembly file. So if I do this, if I save it, now if I go to the assembly will detect and say update, yes, okay. And this is the other advantage and the other important concept of the assembly, which is the connection that you have between the part and the main file. So everything that happens in the part files, it is updated. And this is one of the advantages because you will deal always with a more simple file. Besides the fact that because you are inserting a part that is saved with this appearance, you can have this updated in several assemblies if you want. Okay, this may be a problem or not. Okay, I'm considering this as a good thing, but maybe in some particular aspects, maybe not an advantage. I will introduce now another part, and I will do also a very simple geometry. So simply create a couple of lines as we usually do, and we'll create external variables with, for example, 30. So, and now some graphic lines like this. Okay, finish and extrusion, and I will create also another variable. And for some reason I've done a mistake, but no problem, I'll go there again. I don't know why. Let us try again. External, for some reason is not going, not important. Let us do the extrusion anyway, no problem. Okay, and now save it also. I will call it solid, and again assembly, and I will make the insertion of the fragment and call the solid. And if you remember, I've inserted an external variable for the radius. So solid, and what I expect is to have, okay, these variables. In fact, it assumes something, okay, and I will change it a little to the side, and in this moment, if I change this, it will be automatically updated. So I can have also this very interesting feature, and there are more things to do in terms of these variables. We can connect these variables of the part, and we can connect them with variables of the assembly file. Okay, there are very nice examples, and we will create a couple of them. But the very interesting feature of these variables is that you can have a part file with the geometry you want, with some variables to change the appearance, and you can insert that part file in multiple assemblies, and by the change of the value of the variables, you can have multiple part shapes starting always from the first initial geometry. Okay, and this is very interesting. So this is the concept of the bottom-up geometry. Besides, you can have another idea called the top-down design, and the top-down design will work directly in the assembly environment. And we can work on this in two ways. You can work with a top-down concept by saving already existing solids in a separate document. So, for example, if I insert a new solid here, okay, I insert it, and I can come to this guy here and say I can create a part that has a connection with the assembly, but I can create it directly. Okay, and I have my part file, okay, with a connection to the assembly also created from the assembly. Besides, I can also and these relations keep also in the same way as we had in the first concept. Besides, we can work directly inside the assembly, and we see the assembly in this mode, and we can come to the assembly menu and say fragment in context. Okay, so we can create fragment in concept. So simply come in here. There are several ways, in fact. We can say, for example, test, doesn't matter. And now we get this little downgraded look of the elements you had already. So if I create something in here, let's create again a cylinder. Okay, and after everything it is done, okay, we can simply, yes, and the part was created also. I call it test, so okay, you see it here. Let us open it. So test, and we have also the cylinder here. Okay, we can try to connect. I think there is no issue. Save it, and here it is. Okay, it was updated also. Um, so there are these two main concepts. Okay, again, the top-down and bottom-up, which are both valid. Another important idea about this is, as you may have seen also in this example, uh, when we speak about these two concepts, we are not limited to work with only one in this file I'm dealing with, so we can mix this. And just to remember, I've started this inserting fragments, and in the exact same file I've created a couple of parts that I've done individual part files after they are in here. So this can be a mix. For sure, both of them have good things and bad things, but again, these are very basic parts, okay? This is just to show you the concept or the idea of this. There are much more things about these assembly modes, but again, we are going to see everything linked in these examples that we will have after the, the course of the video done, okay? Because we've seen a part of this on the 2D with the creation of the bills of materials, all these links and how to manage the parts, number of parts, relations, updates, and so on, intersections. So there are a lot of things, and for that, I think it is better to have a couple of examples, very nice examples that we have prepared already. So in terms of this assemblies creation, for the moment, this is what I had in my mind to show you. I hope that these concepts were clear. You can start easily to make simple assemblies, to try a couple of simple parts to see how to deal with this. And for the moment, if you have any other questions, if you need any additional help in your work, in your tests, you can contact us. We will support you. But again, be aware of the new videos we will release about the assemblies and about all of this in YouTube, because for sure they will help you to develop a couple more skills about this topic.